So we have a lot of folks here today we want to thank and then get to the point where we're going to showcase a few things. So I'm going to do this in an expeditious way, but appropriate way, so that we're definitely showing the gratitude that is well deserved. So first, I would like to ask our sponsors, in this case, our Shimadzu team that is here. Would you all please stand? All the folks from Shimadzu, would you all please stand up? We are so grateful to you. The gentleman at the center table, Mr. Maida, he is the president of Shimadzu Scientific Instruments here in North America, and he graciously made the trip to come here and be with us. We're so grateful. The Shimadzu team has not only come here to support the event and be part of discussions around our next Spark, but they also, many of them, were over with the students working the labs and doing some of the activities. So thank you so much for doing that with us. And a very special thanks to Heather Jeswa. Heather, please stand. She has been absolutely instrumental. She has been instrumental, pun intended, in our process of making all this happen. So thank you, Heather, so much. We have some special guests. What I'm going to do is ask some folks, if there's multiple folks at the same table, to stand together. We have from the Timken Foundation, Mr. Jack Timken and Mark Scheffler. Would you gentlemen please stand so we can be acknowledged? Thank you so much. The Timken Foundation was involved in our first Spark grant, and we are grateful for your support. We have also Nitric Oxide Services, Joe Bauer, Dr. Joe Bauer, a graduate of Walsh University, and also one of our research collaborators and Frame Collaboration. Joe, would you please stand with your team? And with him is also another Walsh alum, Carl Schwenk. Carl, would you please stand? His father taught me biochemistry back in 1976. So, pretty awesome. Dr. Carl Schwenk, good man. So, Joe, thank you for everything you do for us and all your spirited, passionate involvement. If you have not seen the lab yet, and you will hopefully later, the special tubing, the stainless steel tubing in there is custom designed, and this stuff is hard to make the way that it's been done by Ken Thompson. Ken with Midwest Process Controls. He put the tubing in. This is it manages all the gases. It's stellar. You have to see it to believe it. If Ken's here, I think he is somewhere. Would you please stand, Ken, real quick? I believe he might be busy here. Where is he? There he is. Thank you, sir. He's in the middle of another installation right now, as a matter of fact. Next group, we have also our Skill Tech Workforce Program, which is connected to this in a very special way. We have Todd Lensman, Todd Lensman representing Lensman and Associates, and Abdu Ayub representing Paragon Shift. Gentlemen, they are true partners for us. Thank you. You guys please stand up, and the folks there. So Abdu, Todd, these guys made it happen. We appreciate your efforts on behalf of Walsh. We have now generated over 500 credentials with that program, and these gentlemen have been at central in both the development of the program as well as implementing it, true partners. Great Owl Industries, Margie Strauss, would you please stand up? Another one of our supporters. Is she here? There she is. Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate your being here. These are folks that Dr. Passerini networked with and got passionate and excited about for today in the program. Wright LaHaye Jarvis, Connor Jarvis, Daryl Wright, and Dan LaHaye, please stand. They're also supporters of today's event. We're grateful to you for being here. They're down there on this side. Thank you so much. And one that's very dear to my heart, where is she? There she is, an alum, and now with the National Institute for Standards and Technology, Jen, would you please stand? Jen Carney, Jennifer Carney, one of our alumni. She works at NIST, and she's so humble, and she came today to be with our students and to share her knowledge and expertise. We're always grateful to see our alums come back and work with us. Howard Thompson of EHM Advisors, representing the Greater Cleveland Partnership. Are you here today? Would you please stand? Thank you, sir. We appreciate that. And then kind of in one big fell swoop, much thanks to Dr. Jackie Novak, Dr. Katie Brown. Jackie's the Division Chair of Math and Sciences. Katie is the Dean of the School of Arts and Sciences, and all Walsh faculty who are here today, would you please stand up and be acknowledged? We're so grateful for your time, effort, dedication. So Jackie, please stand. And all the science faculty here today, please stand up. I know you're out there. Thank you so much. Awesome. Also want to welcome some folks who are part of today. These are people who made an extra special effort to be here. They are part of the community and part of the university in very special ways. One gentleman, Dr. Vic McCrary, couldn't be here in person. He's with the National Science Board Vice Chair. He'll be doing a video, which we'll show you shortly. So the following, I'm going to ask you all to please stand first, and I'll indicate what's going on as we go. So we have two of our Board of Director members here, A.J. Highland, the chair of our board, and Roger DeVille, who just recently came back to our board. Please stand. Thank you, gentlemen. Really grateful to you. And in this new role that I'm in, I'm learning about how valuable the Board of Directors really is to the university, and the kind of work you all do is amazing. So thank you for your constant diligence. From BioOhio, Jennifer Goldsberry. Please stand. We'll acknowledge you. Where's Jen? Over here somewhere? There she is. We are recently a member of BioOhio, and Jen's been our contact. She's awesome, networking us with everybody, as I said before. Our Stark County Commissioner, Mr. Richard Regula. Thank you, sir. Our Stark County Auditor, Alan Harold. Yes, sir. Thank you. The Honorable Stephen Wilder, Mayor of North Canton. Please stand, Stephen. Thank you. Woo. The Honorable Kathy Catazzaro Perry, Mayor of Massillon, is here today. Thank you, ma'am. Now, you may have noticed this morning, if you were over here, there was about 210 high school students that were here present with our faculty and with the Shimadzu folks. There would have been 500 who wanted to come. We're putting them off to the springtime. When Dan started making the phone calls and getting connected, they all jumped on. When they knew you were all coming, they all wanted to be here. It was amazing. So they were here this morning, and they had a great presentation from Bruce Thompson. Bruce, please stand, from Shimadzu. Nice keynote address. Bruce did a real genuine tale of his life and his story, how he got to where he is. It was really cool because it was not easy. And they got to see that your path's not always linear. Sometimes it's very complicated. So thank you for that, Bruce, very much so. Many of our superintendents are here as well. We had 10 different high schools. And the following, I'm going to call your names, and please stand and wait till the end to applause. From Canton Local Schools, Brett Yeagley. If I mispronounce your name, I'm terribly sorry. I'm trying here. Sandy Valley Local Schools, David Fisher. North Canton City Schools, Jeff Wendorf. Lake Local Schools, Kevin Tobin. Marlington Local Schools, Mike Schreffler. And Stark County ESC, the Educational Service Center, Joe Chaddock. Would you all stand? Let's acknowledge these folks. Thank you so much for being here. At Walsh, we're really proud of our relationships with our local schools. We really do everything we can to be of service to the schools in the area. There are so many students here that we can be of service to, both as they come here as students, but also when they come here for events, they get to interact with our faculty. It's all wonderful stuff. So we really appreciate them being here to support. So speaking of students, I did mention earlier, I believe, that the Q in SPARK stands for quality of life. So this isn't just about science, it's about using science to make a positive difference in the world and the lives of people. And so in the spirit of that, I want to tell you a little story. So we have on campus something called the Garage, which is our innovation center. Where is Eric? Eric, the proper name of the garage has just changed. I want to make sure I say it. Would you mind just saying it real quick? The actual, what is it again? The Nolan Innovation Center. One of our donors supported recently, again, the garage. And in that space, one of our students, Joe Knopp, innovated and created this bottle. This is the Ripple water bottle. But it's not just about a water bottle that's going to sell and there's going to be profit involved. He wanted to connect this to quality of life. And so what he's doing is something really super special. And I'll talk about this more in a second. I'll have Joe tell you his story real quick. It'll just take a minute. So this is Joe Knopp.
I just watched a little boy get a can and put it under a dirty water source. And he also had a little tire that he was carrying around. And he drank from the tire. I literally no words right now. This is in the village of Katidi. We're launching today. That won't happen anymore. It all started when I laid in my bed my freshman year of college. I was really struggling. I said, God, like, I'm struggling right now. Like, I cannot do this. Like, I need your help. Like, whatever you have for me in store, like, I surrendered myself to you. I surrendered myself. I said, God, let me serve you. Like, show me the way. Next thing you know, Ripple's being born. I was making a lot of money doing drop shipping. He helped show me that it's not about the money, it's about the people. It's about serving others. Like, living a life of servitude, so much more satisfying than any amount of money could ever offer. So I stopped all the money making with side hustles like that, and I just decided, like, hey, I want to solve the world water crisis. While I'm in college, I bought a bunch of these bottles, and so every 1,000 we sell, we're able to raise enough money to drill a well for communities that need help accessing clean water. So we've just drilled our first well over in Katidi, and then I'm gonna go back to America. I have interviews to be able to tell our story, that you guys need water to millions of people in America, and we'll be able to sell 1,000 of these bottles and be able to drill you all a well and give you clean water. It really starts with one well, because you can't get to 2 wells until you've done 1, and you can't get to 10 until you've done 1. Like, it all starts by just that one spot. It's all been word of mouth. Like, I can't speak enough to, like, the community we've already built. Like, it's not me. Like, I 100% know it's not me. It's the people. Like, everyone that's bought a Ripple bottle, or everyone that's told their brother or sister or friend that, oh, go buy a Ripple bottle, or go check these guys out on Instagram, and shared something. Like, those are the people that have really made this happen, and I'm so grateful for everyone that's helped us along the journey so far. It takes a community. It takes a community to help a community.
So one of the things I thought was really spectacular about this was he took a scientific concept and turned it into a marketable product. This has special features, is what it's all about. And then he wanted to give back. So his quality of life contribution was to drill wells in places where clean water wasn't available. So what we're going to do today is all the Shimadzu friends that are here with us, you have a bag that's in front of you, I think, at your table. In that bag is one of these bottles to remind you of the quality of life concept that we believe is so important to you and to us. And also Carrie DeVille. Where's Carrie? Is she here today? Carrie, would you stand up, please? I know she's likes to be in the shadows, but Carrie's awesome. Carrie, she has also collected up from the community different elements of the whole North Canton community to put in those bags. So in the bags for our Shimadzu partner friends is a Ripple bottle and reminders of North Canton, where your second home is. So we want to thank Dr. Passerini and also his wife Carrie for doing that special feature for our special guests. So thank you guys, we appreciate that. Terrific. By the way, is Joe here today? I saw him earlier. Is he in here? Joe, would you please stand up? Let's give you a big round of applause, young man. Awesome. Woo! Thank you for that. I think he's going to remember this day for a long time. Awesome. I'm going to ask Jen Goldberry from Bio, Ohio to come to the stage and just say a few words about our partnership. Thank you, Jen.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. I'm Jen Goldsberry with BioOhio, and we could not be more thrilled to be here today and help celebrate the special day. As the state's Bioscience Association, celebrating science is like our favorite day. So thank you, and it's great to see all of you. BioOhio is we have 300 members that we serve through advocacy, networking, connections, information. So anytime you need information or anything about this amazing industry in Ohio, please come to BioOhio. We have a new leader, Eddie Pauline. He started back in August, and he's sorry he couldn't be here today, but he sends his hellos. And in his first 3 months, I think we've had 150 member conversations, and we now know more than ever how important workforce and innovation is to raising the ecosystem in Ohio. So we are going to be very focused on that, and our strategy will be a lot around that moving forward. So big congrats to everybody today and the partnership that has been formed at our wonderful member, Walsh University, and really happy to be here. So thank you so much.
I'll get my high five later. By the way, Jen was introduced to me by Dr. Bauer. We had a conversation at a restaurant 2 years ago, I think it was, and now that's coming to fruition. It's pretty awesome. Very cool. So I know that Dr. McCrary could not be here today, but we do have a video from him. He'd like to say hi, and so we're going to put him up here real quick. You ready to go? Okay. Dr. Vic McCrary is the vice chair of the National Science Board. He is. I met him in Maryland last year. Amazing guy. Wonderful advocate for the sciences and for the liberal arts.
Good afternoon, everyone. Friends, students, faculty, officials, thank you for coming this afternoon. My name is Victor McCrary, and I am the Vice Chair of the National Science Board. I want to give a large thanks to President Tim Collins and Dr. Dan Passerini for this invitation to virtually be with you here today to dedicate your new science building, and also thank Shimadzu, but also to thank you and all of the local officials who have worked together on a big initiative of the National Science Board, which is the skilled technical workforce. As a member of the National Science Board, we have over the last year, we debuted Vision 2030, which is the board's vision for how the US is going to be and remain competitive in science and engineering over the next decade. Your efforts in dedicating this new science laboratory, but also your remarkable efforts for taking the first steps in looking about the skilled technical workforce, involving industry, looking at those different types of curriculum will help us and the board achieve its vision. In both efforts, what you are doing will also help both in research as well as create talent for America, that domestic diverse STEM talent that we need so for the future of our leadership in terms of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So therefore, I want to thank the faculty. I want to thank your outstanding leadership from the president, the deans. I want to thank local and state officials. I want to thank our industry partners here, but most of all, I want to thank our students because they'll be recipients of these programs here at Walsh University, which will change our nation. Thank you for your time today.
So proud to be part of that, Dr. McCrary. So I have one more person I want to say something about specifically, and I'd be remiss if I didn't. So when we started the Spark program, it was a consequence of Heather and I have been talking about it for probably 15 years, and we just wasn't the right opportunity. And so one day when I was serving as the dean of the School of Arts and Sciences back when, Dan came to see me when he was working in Eric's office under development, and we were talking about instruments. I said, Dan, we've got to upgrade our instruments. We need to find a way to do this and such. And this was it was a horrible day out. It was, I think there was nor'easter in the town. It was just cold and horrible. He goes, okay. So he goes, do you have Heather's number? I go, sure. So I gave it to him. Next thing you know, this whole process starts, and we had John DeWan came down to campus with Heather. We had a big meeting, and what was really interesting was this. John says to me and Dan, he goes, so what do you guys want to do? And we said, we want to get some instruments. He goes, no, you're not thinking big enough. He goes, You got to think really big. What do you really want? And he's trying to paint this huge picture. And so Dan goes, how big should we go? Should we go 10, 20 million? What do you think? And this whole conversation got going around how big should we really be with this? And it turned out as we went through it with Eric's help and others, we found a way to make this happen. And I remember when the whole process was coming together and crystallizing, Dan kept pushing John and Heather to add more to the to the package. And John finally one day said, you can't do anymore. We're done. We just can't do this anymore. We're going to hit a roadblock or whatever. And then he says, okay, well, it'll just be Spark 2 then. We'll just add it to the next level, right? So that whole process happens. Then shortly thereafter, when President Collins came on board, he says, Mike, there's this cool thing going on with what Dr. McCrary is talking about when he was with Johns Hopkins, and we need to look at the skilled tech workforce, and we need to get this off the ground. So I said, hey, Dan, we need to get this going. And next thing you know, we have Todd Lensman, Abdu Ayoub connected in, building a program, launched it. Now we have 500 credentials going. And today, he took the tip of the spear to make this all happen. So every now and again, you get somebody on campus who just really cares, loves the campus, and has energy beyond belief. And so, Dan, would you please stand up? This young man made this happen today. We're so proud of him. Of course, it wasn't by himself. He had lots of people helping him, but you always need a champion, right? Someone that's going to keep pushing it forward. So thank you for all that, and thank you to everybody who's here today that wasn't necessarily announced. Every one of you matters, and every one of you, we are grateful to whatever part of you give to Walsh. Now, it's my extraordinary pleasure to introduce our president, Dr. Tim Collins. So Dr. Collins began his career in the U.S. Air Force in 1982, and over the next 23 years, he served as a senior officer and held multiple command positions. Upon his retirement from the Air Force in 2005, he joined Johns Hopkins University and held several leadership roles over his 14-year tenure there. Dr. Collins is a frequent speaker and consultant expert on a wide range of topics, including leadership and higher education, and in August of 2019, he became a member of our campus community. Please welcome Walsh University's 7th president, Dr. Tim Collins.
Swords up! Swords up! Okay, Mike, I'm going to go off script.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Mike, you should sit down. This will be a minute. So, when Drenda and me came to campus, we came here for one reason, and that was to serve the community. And our mission here is to take our students and take them to another place. To place them in a position where they are prepared for their career, where they're prepared for life, and they have a sense of what their life's purpose is and how it might change. And the story you heard of Joe is an amazing story. And for Drenda and me, on a daily basis, we hear amazing stories of all different sizes and shapes from these amazing students that we have in this community. So just last week, we ran into Joe in the grill. He was eating supper. And so Drenda and I had an opportunity just to chat with him about his trip. And Joe, I'm going to ask you if you would come up, sir. And I would like Joe to tell you what is next with his idea that was birthed in Ripple. Because nobody can tell this like Joe. Please. Swords up. Swords up.
Oh, yeah. Thank you guys for everyone that's here. Thank you to you all that helped build the lab there. I really wasn't expecting to speak today, so we'll see how this goes. But the idea with Ripple is, so how many of you guys are familiar with Yeti or Hydro Flask? By a show of hands. Okay, gotcha. So they're selling these bottles for $45 and $55 each, but guess how much they really cost? It's $5.46. And so there's this extra $20, $30 after they pay all their employees, get the bottle made, everything like that. And our idea with Ripple is that we're just going to take all these products and we're going to leverage them to solve real-world problems. So we want these high-quality products to solve these real-world problems. And what this looks like in the macro vision is like an Amazon style of website where you decide what problem you want to solve that day. So let's say you need paper towels, okay? You want to save the rainforest. So you click on the tab, save the rainforest, you get your paper towels, you planted some trees today. I want to build this macro vision of being able to have a touching point on solving every single problem and bringing up the quality of life for every single human being, the earth. I don't know, but
Hey, John, is that big enough?
yeah. But I mean, I really can't say thank you enough to Walsh University that's helped give me this platform how it really went, and it didn't show it on the screen, but I spent all my college money that I'd saved up in internships on these first 2,000 bottles, and we started in our dorm room. We didn't even have enough money for a storage unit, and Walsh let us keep all these bottles in our dorm room, thankfully. Definitely was probably against fire code, but we let it slide. But
I
just
didn't hear Dunphy introduce the pledge.
yeah, I think we're good. But I know there's a lot of influential people here today, and I just want to say thank you, update you. So it took us about 6 months, all word of mouth, to build this first well. And so I got back from Uganda. It's been a little less than a month, and yesterday we were able to break ground on our second well already. And I just can't say thank you enough to the community that we've already been building. And just thank you to Walsh. Yeah.
So when we talk about teaching students how to think and not what to think, that is what comes alive. So Joe, well done. I don't know if I want paper towels. I have to check in with Drenda about what I need. But he makes it easy. Just what problem do you want to solve? So look, we are just excited beyond belief to have everyone here. If you did not stand up in one of the many categories that Dr. Dunphy went through, and you're still here, could you please stand up? And we would like to clap for all of you too. Everybody stand up who didn't already have a chance to stand up. Everybody stand up. Stand up, stand up. There we go. Part of this experience at Walsh and Cav Nation is about community. We do all of this together. We're in this together. And so it is really important to us. We're really excited that all of you could join us as well. So today, as Dr. Dunphy noted, you may have seen a couple hundred students roaming around campus. High school students, high school honor students that are here. You may have seen also up to our 1,600 students that are here working on their undergraduate degrees. Some of them are graduate students that are here. You didn't see the hundreds of workers in America today that are participating in the Skilled Technical Workforce Initiative that the National Science Board has labeled as first in the nation, and we just heard Dr. McCrary reinforce that, the first ones to fiddle with that. And you didn't see all of the graduate students that are also furthering their life, moving on their journey, understanding their purpose with an education here at Walsh University. But these are the reason we're here. Walsh University is in the truth business, absolutely. But Walsh University is in the people business. We do all of this for people. And those are the people that this community serves, both the internal community and the external community. Those are the faces that make our mission statement come alive. And so today, as we continue on this effort to build the fourth version, version 4.0 of Walsh University, it is, in fact, possible to take this latest step in opening up this laboratory primarily through the amazing generosity of the Shimadzu Corporation and the Timken Foundation. Without those organizations believing in you, believing in Cav Nation, wanting to make a difference themselves, today would not be possible. And this is so important to us. As Mike said, this is Founders Week. And today is the last day of our 60th anniversary. Tomorrow we begin anew. Tomorrow begins the 61st year of something the seven brothers brought to Stark County to make the world a better place, to provide an opportunity for students that maybe wouldn't get it someplace else. They came here. And so it is this partnership with Shimadzu, whose goal is to make contributions for a better society through science and technology, and a partnership with the Timken Foundation, who are all about the betterment of our local community, our civic betterment themselves, and allows us to come together as three entities and create a joint vision. What is it that is Olympic class science education and R&D for our educators, for our students, in a way that comes together to meet the needs of our industry partners, some of whom are with us today, that they too see the real world value of what it is that we're talking about. So this effort of christening our new laboratory is really a mark of transforming lives. And that, at the end of the day, is what all of us and our community partners stand for. Today, tomorrow, we're going to set a new standard in America. What does hands-on education look like in the sciences? Well, we talk to students about their purpose and help them to bridge what's theoretical, and through our faculty, show them what's practical. So it is an honor, a deep honor, for Walsh University, to your hometown university, Mayor, to be competitively selected by Shimadzu to join in this partnership and improve the academics and the research and the quality of life. You know, America today sadly has fallen behind in STEM education. Science, technology, mathematics, engineering. I shuffled the letters to see if you're still awake. And you gotta really know your stuff to do that live. Okay, we have fallen behind. So in January of this year, earlier this year, the government put out its annual report looking at the industrial capabilities of the United States, and they've sounded the alarms. We are falling behind. We no longer have a state-of-the-art STEM education vision for this country. In fact, the reality is that in the workforce, we're not developing students and workers that can actually think and develop and then field complex systems using state-of-the-art technologies that are necessary for where it is that we want to go as a country. Technologies like artificial intelligence, like machine learning, like hypersonics. You know, the Chinese, their population is 4 times that of the United States, and they're outpacing us 8 times the number of STEM graduates that they're producing. The Russians are producing 4 times the amount of engineers that the United States of America is producing. We sat on top for a long, long time, and today we find ourselves 3rd in the world of producing STEM graduates. And the numbers don't look like they're climbing for this country. So what we're doing today is we are changing the game. We are changing the game. Walsh University is a liberal arts institution. And there are some that say, well, liberal arts, what's that have to do with STEM? It has everything to do with STEM. For you see, science and mathematics, that's not anti-liberal arts, that is the liberal arts. And what it is that we have the opportunity to do here at Walsh University is we have the opportunity to provide for that STEM program a foundation, a liberal arts foundation that can completely change the world. It can completely produce what America needs. In fact, it is exactly what America needs. Think about this for a minute. Think about artificial intelligence combined with machine learning and mashed together to put on a small surveillance vehicle that our sheriff or the Ohio Department of Safety wants to use. Who is it that's out there talking about what are the ethical implications of that? What are the philosophical implications? What are the economic implications? For you see, STEM cannot advance in a vacuum. It is part of an entire set of knowledge. This is why Walsh is a university. One knowledge. We're not Walsh the multi-university. Only at a place like Walsh can we bring all of these questions together so that as we continue down the road and we do what we're doing, we can actually make sure that this idea that liberal arts is actually the best investment American can make if you truly want to improve society and the human condition. And so this partnership, sir, is so monumental to this community. It is so important to our country. Now, I'm willing to bet everyone in this room has seen the Statue of Liberty. How many of you, raise your hand, have seen the Statue of Liberty from the top looking down? Very few. 2 or 3. All right, so what you would notice if you could see the view from the top is a very elaborate and detailed hairstyle that lady has. Now, this is a 305-foot statue that was built in the middle part of the 1800s. There is no way that French sculptor could have thought to himself, nobody's going to see that but the seagulls. He wasn't thinking about a helicopter flying over it or an airplane flying over it, things that hadn't even been invented. But the lesson in there for us today is that whatever the job is that you do, you want to finish it perfectly. You want to finish it perfectly. So every job, every task, every effort, what we want our students to know, to believe, just like Joe demonstrated not even a month ago, is that everything you do is a self-portrait of who actually did it. There's a saying, you can tell the workman by the workmanship. And that is so true. So just like Shimadzu, just like the Timken Foundation, just like Walsh University, we autograph our work with excellence. And that is a core value of Walsh University that has guided us to this point today to dedicate this new laboratory. It is very much on our mind. So take note, America. Here we come. Swords up!
You're right, Sam. Glad I sat down. Wonderful. Thank you. So, I go back to my script. I think, Dr. Collins, I believe you are introducing Mr. Maida. Is that correct? No? Okay. Would you mind?
The Shimadzu Corporation is a $3 billion corporation. It's a global corporation. And it's been around since just after the Civil War, 1875. Shimadzu is the premier company providing analytical equipment for chemists and materials people around the world. And it is indeed an honor for us today to have with us the president of Shimadzu Scientific Instruments, who is the sponsor of this very generous gift of all this equipment. and in this program that Mike has talked to you about, this initiative called Spark. And if you want to get familiar with a company that understands their obligations are much greater than just making a buck, you need look no further than this company right here. They are all about what is it that we can do to advance the sciences, to advance the education of those that are going to lead us in the sciences, and give back at communities around the world just like Walsh. So this team that's here today, this has really been a partnership. This has really been about how can we do something in a way no one else can do. And as a small faith-based independent Catholic university, we're a little different flavor than what they traditionally see in terms of the public research companies. So traveling to be with us today is their leader. It is the president of Shimadzu Scientific. And sir, I'm going to let you take the podium. We are honored to have you with us today. So how about a round of applause for Mr. President?
Yeah. Shimadzu Corporation has established in Japan, Kyoto, from 1875. From that, our corporate philosophy contribute to society through science and technology. So all Shimadzu employees, not only Japan but also in worldwide, our colleagues, they have such mind. So from today's Dr. Collins' presentation and any other person's opinion and culture or everything. So from such information, I felt Walsh University has such a similar, almost same mind to contribute to U.S. society by developing science and technology. So anyway, I think I appreciate for your many works and collaboration with us. Thank you for today's work. Thank you.
I'm going to ask Kirk Allison. Kirk is one of our engineering students. He's a Blue Scholar. He's interested in environmental chemistry. And also, yes, as a matter of fact, where's Kirk? Is he here? Come on up, please. Oh, no, actually, you sit down. Thank you. I'll bring you back up. I just had.
He had one of those tells like Dr. Dumfries, I think you're in the wrong spot.
Yeah, I think so. Sorry. I was one line too low. I need to have Patrick Fromal from Shimadzu to come up, please. Patrick? He's over here, I think, yes. Patrick, you're going to be introducing our speaker. Would you mind introducing Kevin for us?
Oh, yeah, yes. Thank you. Well, it's an honor to be here, and it's an honor to introduce to you a person that I have known for a very long time. As a matter of fact, when I was a salesperson, and by the way, I'm the Vice President of Sales and Marketing for Shimadzu North America, so it's a pleasure being here. But I used to be, a bag carrier for Shimadzu sales in my hometown of Virginia. And I used to stop by this university all the time where there was these lowly graduate students in their lab plugging away, doing a lot of science, doing a lot of chromatography. And this is where I had the opportunity to meet Kevin as he was finishing up his PhD in Dr. Harold McNair's lab, a wonderful chromatographer that he and I both admire greatly. And it's been a thrill to continue our relationship with Kevin past his graduate program into his postdoc, where he went overseas for a while, went over to Europe, and then he moved over to UT Arlington, where he immediately called up and said, hey, I've got some startup funds, need a little bit of help from an old friend in Shimadzu. And actually where the term Spark comes from, you might think that, this is something that just we coined with UTA, and we kind of did coin it with UTA. But Shimadzu Corporation itself, as Mr. Maida alluded to, started in 1875 in Kyoto. And it started because, if you may know or not, the capital of Japan moved from Kyoto to Tokyo at that time. So there was a vacuum in Kyoto. And what Kyoto decided was it needed to be a technology center, and it started to enhance its universities. It felt like the first thing that it needed to do was really strengthen its universities. And they brought in some people from overseas. They brought in a professor from Germany, and he had some analytical equipment, some rudimentary analytical equipment at that time, and it wasn't working properly. So this person told him, said, well, there's a gentleman in town who's kind of a handyman who might be able to fix your equipment. And some people might consider like a, blacksmith or, kind of a jack of all trades. And that man was actually Genzo Shimadzu. So we actually started our Spark with the advent of our company back in 1875. UTA was very different in the sense that they wanted to become a high-grade research institution. And they thought they needed a great partner. And when the provost approached Kevin and said, who do you think we should lean to? He remembered our long-standing relationship, and he called us up. And of course, we all thought together, as John DeWine coined, let's think big together. So it's an honor to have Kevin come up on the stage. He's been a wonderful friend to Shimadzu for many, many years. He's an outstanding professor, an outstanding scientist, but more than anything, he's an outstanding friend to Shimadzu. With that, Kevin Shucker.
Okay, that's I really appreciate that introduction, Patrick, and it's great to be a part of like this beginning of something that could be that could grow into who knows what, and to help dedicate it, of course, but also to contribute a little bit to the thoughts that maybe will develop into something that is unlike anything that we consider. I think the mindset is right here, and I'm glad that I could at least share a little bit of my experience being in partnership with Shimadzu. I know that we have a lot that we have celebrated here today. We have a lot more to celebrate, so I'm going to try to get through this relatively quickly so we can make sure we're not falling behind. But when I was thinking about my own travels and my own path to getting where I am, I was thinking about fondly. I grew up riding horses, and this one here that's featured in all the pictures, the Appaloosa, this is Freckles. And Freckles taught me a lot about perseverance. I grew up riding horses, show jumping, dressage. My father was a faculty member in a university, and my mother loved horses, and so we went fox hunting and did all these things. And Freckles was a master at getting me off of her back. She would run up to a jump, make you think she was going, stop, you would go over the jump, or she would stop, then go over the jump, and you were with her jump, and then she was so excited afterwards, she'd be bucking. And I went through weeks and weeks of fox hunting where I came off the horse every time. I'm like 6 to 9 years old, but it taught me to get back on and to keep going. And so I owe a lot to Freckles for being able to persevere in an environment in science, in academia, where there is always failure. There's always the need to move on, to learn, and to get better. And you should not be discouraged by that, by those opportunities to learn that. Just very quickly, How did I get here? I'd like to give this in the context of some reaction, chemical reaction, so maybe it's familiar to some of you. So I grew up playing sports, riding horses. My dad was a chemistry professor at Virginia Tech. That's his office up there. So I grew up running around the halls of a chemistry building. I ended up going and getting full scholarship to go to Virginia Military Institute to play football, but I stayed there for 4 days and decided that was not for me. So I gave that up and ended up walking on to play football at William & Mary. And a wonderful liberal arts education. I owe a lot of my ability to be able to write and other things from that education, not just science. And while I was there, my first semester, I got a 1.6. Second semester, I got a 1.8. It found out that this football thing was really interfering with my social life. And so something had to go. And it was not going to be that I got, football got me into this wonderful school. So I got rid of football and I graduated with my bachelor's degree in chemistry. While I was there at William & Mary, I did an internship at Virginia Tech with Harold McNair. He was ended up being my PhD advisor. Patrick was just talking about him. And when I was there, he introduced me to some work in industry, set me up with an internship at SC Johnson & Wax. And I thought, I was going to be, that was my route. I'm going to go for this bachelor's degree to industry. And then after I went and did that, I found out that McNair sent me there to show me that that's not what I should do. Because that with a bachelor's degree in chemistry at a plant like that, doing quality assurance, what you would be doing is the same thing day in and day out. So he convinced me that I should go not to industry, but should go with him to Virginia Tech. I also did go backpacking across Europe for the summer after I graduated, so had that going for me, which was nice. Went to Virginia Tech, did my PhD in analytical chemistry. My dissertation was actually done on the first, I think it might have been the second generation quadrupole instrument from the Shimadzu, the QP8000 Alpha. And there began a wonderful relationship with Shimadzu. I took that PhD degree, got married, went overseas to do a postdoc at the University of Vienna in Austria, working with Professor Wolfgang Lindner there. Of course, there's some beautiful sights, there's some food and drink, and we also did a little bit of science. I was there for a couple years before I went to UT Arlington in 2005. So I did not, at one point I thought I was going to be Indiana Jones, but when I got a D in Intro to Archaeology at William & Mary, I changed my path. So you never know how you're going to get to where you are. So yeah, our interaction with Shimadzu started during that time, graduate school. I've had many wonderful years interacting with Shimadzu and Patrick, hatching the next plan. 2007, we were able to get into our lab this high-resolution ion trap time of flight instrument. I still like that picture. I look pretty young in there. And then it was until 2012 when we realized we had maybe an opportunity to develop a much larger instrumentation facility, a growing university. Since I've been there in 2005, we've more than doubled in size. We're now more than 45,000 students. And we needed an analytical facility, so we were able to set up, arranged a partnership to have this Center for Advanced Analytical Chemistry. The provost who signed that check left right after that. I think he was going to be lynched by some English professors or something like that for spending that much money. No, it wasn't that way. But he left, and immediately after that, the administration doubled down and created this whole Shimadzu Institute for Research Technologies, which ended up being involving the largest cash donation by Shimadzu to the university by anybody from Shimadzu, and led to our creation of a whole series of basically research centers. There's the advanced analytical chemistry, there's environmental forensics, materials science, biomolecular energy imaging. We roped in under a materials genome institute, animal care facility, human genome effort, and basically with some $26.5 million worth of instrumentation, all of a sudden we had probably the best, certainly the biggest outfitting of Shimadzu instrumentation in the Western Hemisphere, but probably the best analytical labs in Texas and in the region. So really enabled us to do a lot of things that we couldn't do before. Very briefly, I'm an analytical chemist. I specialize in chromatography. This is the type of chromatography that high school students get. This is paper chromatography, maybe separating some pigments from a extract of a plant. I don't do that chromatography. I use these instruments to separate components like these. Each one of these would be a peak in a chromatogram and be an individual component, and you can tell what it is and how much of it is there. And we also use a lot of mass spectrometry, where we can go and detect what comes out of that chromatograph and weigh it and figure out what it is and measure important things like caffeine. That was all so important to our daily lives. So we do a lot of things that's combining these technologies, but you got to have good instruments to do work in that area. And so with a whole series of instruments at our fingertips, we started delving into unconventional areas of research. And I would just say, tying back to the title, these are areas where measurements needed to be made in order to figure out what's going on. Cannabis, hemp, because of so much regulation, has not had nearly the effort put into looking at the bioactive molecules that could be there as future pharmaceutical agents. Craft beer and whiskey, well, who doesn't love that? But again, not a lot of analytical effort gone into that as far as compared to, say, wine. Plastics recycling, this is the huge growth area in the next 20 years, is a multi-billion-dollar market that's going to be associated with recycling plastics. And then we spent a lot of time looking at unconventional oil and gas extraction. This had just been started not been started, but UTA had started leasing their land just around the time that we set up this partnership. We looked into the literature. There was no literature as to whether this stuff was good or bad. There's obviously a lot of competing opinions. You had documentaries with people lighting their gas on their water on fire. You've got people like Mark Ruffalo, a clear expert, telling you the dangers of fracking. Here's Talisman Terry the Frackosaurus. I mean, what could be wrong with that? And of course, everything in between, but no science there. And so we set about doing a whole bunch of air, soil, groundwater monitoring campaign. And we needed to use so much of the instrumentation that was established there to be able to look at such a complex series of samples and mixtures. I won't go into that too much, except that this is the current dilemma of unconventional oil and gas extraction. It is the produced wastewater that comes along with the commodities. In the Permian Basin, the largest producing basin in the U.S. and Texas, you get 5 barrels of wastewater for every barrel of commodity you come back with. Even if you do what Chevron says they're doing right now, which is now completely reduce reliance on fresh water and reuse this water for fracking, you still use a very small fraction of that wastewater. And if we go put that down underground, we cause seismicity and earthquakes. It's just a massive problem that needs to be solved. And there could be potential here to mine that for future minerals and whatnot. We switched our game. We had the instrumentation, and we started getting into helping out companies who are developing produced water recycling technologies. Cleaning it, okay, for reuse, that's one thing, but if you want to go and get to agricultural discharge, that's a whole nother level. Potable water, you got to be very clean. We're not there yet in terms of what can be done and is allowed to be done, but I'm telling you, it's the analytical instruments that are going to be able to tell you that you have created a clean enough, taken this raw waste mixture and taken it clean enough that it can be discharged in agriculture without any adverse consequences. We're getting to the point where you can measure that low. So this is just an example of some chromatograms showing during this treatment process how, for example, the organic compounds are dropping out as you go across the treatment. We can do the same thing with the metals and the microbes and whatever using these instrumentation. This working with Shimadzu has led to so many industrial partnerships. My lab has been almost completely comprised of funding from private partnerships with industry, and these have involved with, we work with some pharmaceutical companies and whatnot, but companies like Apache, which is a major oil and gas producer, or Challenger Water Solutions there is working hard to create these produced water treatment technologies. Or Lummus Technologies, a new one who's looking at conversion of these recycled plastics into pyrolysis oils that can be reused. All of this was enabled, all these connections were enabled following our establishment of the partnership with Shimadzu and the Shimadzu Institute for Research Technologies. And so now you heard the President talk about machine learning and AI, and I'm happy to report we have now recently gotten an NSF grant that is combining artificial intelligence with analytical instrumentation. And I really had to bite my tongue a lot because I've always been telling the National Science Foundation that they've never been willing to support basic separation science, and well, here they did it. But okay. But we've been working with a lot of great new technologies, analytical technologies, some of which can be pretty complicated. And the incorporation of these advanced machine learning techniques, artificial intelligence, advanced optimization procedures is a really big opportunity for advancing the use of analytical instruments. We have one particular instrument that uses supercritical fluids. This is if you take a gas or a liquid above this critical point, it becomes some kind of a fluidous media that has a higher diffusivity than a liquid and a low viscosity like a gas, and has good density and solving power. And you can use this to do extractions and separations. And Shimadzu, a few years ago, came out with the first instrument that could take a sample and do full-on extraction, separation, detection, all in one instrument. Very, very, very powerful platform. Very complicated. There are things to optimize at each one of these steps so that, and many of the variables interact with each other such that it's sometimes difficult to wrap our puny little human brains around what the heck to do. Not only that, you have this instrument that is so broadly applicable to almost anything that you could do with gas and liquid chromatography that it begs to be made ability to optimize it for all of these broad applications. So it has been in development and it's being applied in various areas related to natural products and environmental media, but we've got a grant to make that a lot more holistic, to develop a smart database so that anybody who came with a sample and some type of thing they wanted to measure in it could use this instrument to do so. And so, to me, that was a really great opportunity to use this. The current places where we're going to are places where it can be hard to measure things, where you want to measure things. Microplastics are a huge environmental concern. These little plastics generated from everything from washing clothes to degraded plastics in the environment can absorb all kinds of contaminants, and I think these can be these little bombs of environmental contaminants if they're consumed. So we need to develop the techniques to be able to characterize this, but even collecting these samples is very difficult. Dried blood spots, so simple of a nice technology to collect things. You could use this to measure biomarkers for disease and whatnot. We're looking at anabolic steroids that would be associated with doping. And then the pyrolysis oils from recycled plastics. I think 5 years ago, you wouldn't think that you would be potentially taking a recycled fuel and using it in something like a jet, because you don't want to have things in there that are going to cause engine knocks at 30,000 feet. But now there are technologies that can take recycled plastic and make a much cleaner diesel or jet fuel than you could ever get from refining petroleum products. And here you have an almost unlimited supply of feedstock, but very complicated mixture. And then when you go and process this into something that you might then turn into a fuel, you get a very complicated mixture that you need to characterize and understand well before you can refine further. But it is these types of instruments that allow you to start to go into these new areas where we weren't able to really do these things before. So I just wanted to give you kind of a quick overview of my view of this, my involvement with Shimadzu. And obviously I think the key here is that having this focus in science and mindset leads to innovation and opportunity. And I would just like to say that it's my own motto. It's okay to be distracted by shiny objects. When you're doing research, things happen. And if you just stay the course, you may miss something that's much more interesting and much more impactful than you ever thought it was. Doesn't mean you have to pursue it right away. just make sure you don't completely avoid it. I always say that I am distracted by shiny objects, and my students lament that we do all kinds of different things, but that's what makes analytical chemistry fun. This might be completely adverse to exactly what the president said earlier, but I do like to say perfect is often the enemy of good enough. And I say that in the context of research again, where you're faced with a lot of failures, you're trying to make progress, and sometimes if you spend too much time making that thing perfect, you miss the opportunity to take it the next step and the next step. And usually in doing so, you refine the stuff that you did before and make it better anyway. So if you get hung up trying to make one thing perfect, you may not make progress. Collaboration is key. In our work with machine learning, artificial intelligence, we are not an expert in that. We work with our industrial engineering data scientists to do that. In all of our environmental work, we have to work with biologists, environmental scientists, hydrogeologists, statisticians. To do the big things, you got to be working together with other people, and you can't be an expert in all of these things. You just got to be willing to work together and to communicate. And then, obviously, keeping your eye open for what's new and what you could utilize is important. And I encourage you, figure out what is your freckles, what is your drive that's going to, keep you motivated to keep going and embrace that and learn from it. So again, trying to keep this short and on time. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. Thank you for the invitation. Congratulations on the establishment of this Spark. I think it's really the start of something special, and I'm certainly just happy to be here to share in that. Thank you.
So in appreciation for Kevin coming up here from Texas and sharing his expertise and his enthusiasm with us, we have a gift for him, which Kirk Allison, one of our students, is presenting. Kirk has enthusiasm just like Kevin's, and he's, of course, at a different stage of his career. But if you would present that to Kevin. Thank you so much, Kevin. We really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Okay, appreciate that.
I thought the trinkets from North Canton and around the area were certainly enough, but thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, we're going to finish up this segment with a special gift that we have obtained to give to Mr. Maida. So, Dr. Collins, if you would come up. And President Maida. Here. So in thinking about what would be something really special we could do here at Walsh University, understanding the complex dynamic we have going on, we thought about what really is connected to our mission and symbolizes the leadership, the servant leadership, the quality of life, all the elements that Shimadzu is all about, that Walsh is all about, and of course our two leaders here are all about personally. And so I happen to be somewhat familiar with the Japanese culture in certain ways because of some things I do, and we wanted to present something that's just unique. And so I have a good friend in Atlanta who is a professional calligrapher, and she penned, this is an authentic penning of something very special, and if President Collins would pull the cover off. The kanji on this particular image represent, whoops, it's stuck. Okay, so these three characters read in Japanese Katsu Jinken. And Katsu Jinken, translated into English, means the living sword, or the sword that gives life. It's in that bucket. And it represents, in samurai heritage, the warriors of the old would balance between Katsu Jinken, the living sword, and Satsu Jinken, the killing sword. And their idea was to be able to be Katsu Jinken when they were not in battle. And this represents, we think, for Mr. Maida and Shimadzu, It is a beautiful visual representation of what we all do. We try to be Katsujin Ken, the living sword, leaders of service, altruistic, and making a difference in the quality of life. So, Mr. Maida, this is our gift to you and to the Shimadzu Corporation. Thank you so much. We appreciate you and what you all do for the world.